Everybody is pledging to go green. Everybody is trying to do their bit in reducing carbon emission. Youth-driven startups are innovative ideas and making products to meet sustainable goals. The startups are now making electrical vehicles too, as this is the right time to India to adopt EV vehicles. Today, we have with us the founder of Raptee EV bikes, Mr. Dinesh Arjun. Welcome, Dinesh.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. Yes.
So, tell me about yourself.
So I'm Dinesh. I am basically an engineer. Uh, I represent Raptee Energy here. Raptee is essentially an electric motorcycle company. We are a we are a 3-year-old EV company. My background has been into automotive manufacturing and retail. This is my third venture. And my previous two ventures were in automotive retail and manufacturing, and this is a natural extension of that. Uh, along with my juniors from college, we started this.
What motivated you to start this Raptee?
See, when you look at the automotive space, right, for the last 30 years, the EV space has remained unchanged, right? There has not been a major innovation in electric vehicles in the last 20, 30 years. We've been seeing the same engine, same electric type of vehicles in the industry for the last 30 years, right? Obviously, there's a bit of efficiency change, etc., etc. But automobiles have been predominantly, for lack of better words, stagnant for the last 3 decades. What we wanted to do is not just make something electric, but rather wanted to understand how we can make uh, automobiles better in every way, right? And that's why we started Raptee.
How is the EV market in India? And do we have any infrastructure to accept EV bikes in India?
Sure. I think electric vehicle market in India is fairly nascent, but we're just getting started. But when you look at infrastructure, electric vehicles are already there, right? I personally own 3 electric cars in my house. Me, my mom, and my dad. All three of us drive electric cars. So we're not talking about EVs as the future, but rather EVs as today, right? We do regular. I do regular trips for work to Bangalore on a regular basis, and I take my electric car, which basically means the infrastructure to support even long distance travel is already available. It's just that we're so used to looking at uh, petrol stations that we don't generally recognize electric vehicle chargers. In a city like Chennai, we have close to about 34 charging stations already, but not even, like people don't even know where these chargers are. The same thing. I would wherever you go, there are charging stations, but it's just not in the as visible as a petrol box. So that's why I believe a lot of us believe that the infrastructure is not ready. But yes, to answer your question straight, the infrastructure is already there for both electric cars, electric two-wheelers, and motorcycles.
Okay. So, what steps are you taking to ensure that the availability of spare parts and after sales services of your EV bikes?
So we are a pre-revenue company. We are not in production yet. We plan to be in production by end of this year.
Okay.
However, compared to a petrol-powered vehicle, an electric motorcycle requires much lesser spares, much lesser maintenance. So what we've done is actually, and this is a little too early for us to kind of mention, but we're ensuring that we are partnering with other players who can help have our spares across geographies, even if we are starting with sales of our motorcycles in limited geographies, right? So let's say, hypothetically, actually, when we start, we plan to start with metro cities. We plan to start with Chennai, Bangalore, Pune, Hyderabad, and Gurugram, for example. Even though our sales will be limited to these places at an outlet level, we have already made we've already made arrangements to ensure that even if uh, our buyers or our customers move from one geography to another, their spares and service requests are still accepted, right? So we're partnering with pan India servicing companies who can help ensure that not only spare availability but serviceability is also there.
How do you plan to survive in the EV market? which has monopoly of big companies like Ola, Ather, like TVS.
I don't think this is a monopoly, or I don't think there is any. See, the first point that we need to kind of understand is India is a motorcycle dominant market, right? 70% of all two wheelers sold in India are actually motorcycles. However, when you look at the electric vehicle industry, 100% of all EVs sold in India are scooters. We are an electric motorcycle company, right? There is literally close to zero competition today. Of course, there are players like Ultraviolet and a lot more other people coming who we feel will be partners in our way to bring electrification to the masses, right? They're working on a different target segment, we're working on a different target segment. So I don't think there's competition yet. I don't think the place is actually overcrowded, or I don't think there'll ever be a possibility for a monopoly. Though I believe the infrastructure and infrastructure is there, and that EVs are not the future, EVs are now. I don't think the full market has already been exploited. There's a lot of space for improvement. I think India will be one of the countries which adopts electric vehicles much faster than the West. I wouldn't be surprised if by 2030, 80% of all vehicles sold both in four wheelers and in two wheelers are electric, right? I think commercial vehicles might take a while to catch up, and that's always been the case. I mean, contrary to popular belief, I believe passenger vehicles would be the ones to kind of catch up soon. Because, see, when I look at electric vehicles, I'm not looking at a vehicle that's just better for the environment or better for total cost of ownership, right? Not just better for running costs or not just better for the environment, but rather I see electric vehicles as a out and out upgrade to petrol powered vehicles in every way, right? The reason that we have three electric cars in the house is not because we are early adopters or we are EV fanatics. It's because when I did buy my first car, my first electric car, and my parents obviously travel a lot. My mom and dad were extremely happy with the way that an EV is, right? And especially when you travel a lot, and EV is a lot less tiring, and lot. I mean, because of the lack of vibrations and lack of obviously the smoke, everything, right? Even though you're in a closed, environment in an AC, it makes a huge difference, right? And that's what I see EVs as, and that's the reason I believe EVs will catch on much quicker than any other technology that has kind of come into the segment. And we really have to also understand that this is the first time in so much, in literally a century, that there's a radical difference in the way you see vehicles, right? I think the biggest reason that the biggest thing that stands against mass market adoption is stigma, or rather, like the question is, do we have the infrastructure? People are still not aware that the infrastructure is already there. People are not aware that EVs are better in every way, right? Once that awareness catches on, and I think that's where a lot of our peers are doing some phenomenal work in terms of creating awareness that EVs can be better, EVs can be safer, EVs can be faster than petrol powered vehicles. That adoption will happen much quicker.
Okay, as we are talking about EV's future in India, government is also supporting this initiative through their different programs. So, what kind of support do you need from the government for the startups in this sector?
Sure. No, so I've mentioned this multiple times. We are one of the startups which has got the most amount of benefit from both the central and state government, right? Uh, we've received both tangible monetary support and intangible support in so many different ways, and I really can't overstate this, right? Right from we are one of the only OEM to have received a fairly large grant. We received a 3.27 crore grant from ARAI, which is the certifying body of automobiles, a couple of months ago, to develop the proprietary drivetrain that we're developing for our motorcycles. Uh, on the other hand, we were the only startup that was present in the central government and state government lounges at Davos in Switzerland this year, right? So I'm extremely grateful for the support from both state and central governments. We've benefited a lot. I think the tricky part that they have is that they have to support all companies equally, not only just companies, but more importantly, technologies equally, right? And the government cannot take sides. I think that's kind of where I think it'll be nice if the government takes a stand on supporting long-term technologies rather than transition tech. Where I personally, for example, I personally believe in fast charging in contrast to battery swapping, where I believe fast charging is a lot more long-lasting or a long-term solution for EVs than battery swapping technology. But that said, I think government is already doing phenomenal work. The adoption needs to be driven at a consumer level. What we've seen over the last few years is that subsidies don't really drive organic growth; they drive inorganic growth, and that can sometimes be make things difficult for companies as well. So yeah.
What can be done to promote EV vehicles in India, especially like tier 2 and tier 3 cities?
I think awareness of electric vehicles, or rather awareness that electric vehicles can be better than petrol-powered vehicles, needs to go out. For that, I think there needs to be a clear cut. You know, there needs to be some regulation that can say which are the products. Because the problem today is there are a lot of. It's unfortunate that I have to say this, but there are a lot of fly-by-night players who are merely just vehicle integrators integrating off-the-shelf components that were built for a different use case, right? Especially products that are coming in from Southeast Asian countries, where they were not built to go this fast, they were never built to last this long, which are kind of spoiling the name for all EVs. There have been, as you may know, there have been a lot of unfortunate incidents in the market. But more than just those incidents, just as a product, EVs unfortunately today have a name as slow and boring vehicles. More importantly, vehicles that don't last very long are not very reliable. But in actuality, it's the exact opposite, right? EVs are inherently more reliable and long lasting because they have fewer moving parts, and that awareness needs to catch on. For that, it's very important that regulation steps in, and it's a very soft balance, right? One side you need to ensure that adoption happens at maximum pace, but also on the other side you need to ensure that the adoption happens via the right type of vehicles and not just any vehicle. And I think that's what is important right now.
So, how can we aware people about the EV vehicles?
If only there was a very easy answer to that. I think it's a very difficult point, right? It's going to be very difficult for you to kind of bring it across in a very simple way. I think the best way to do it is start with a premium segment, right? Like for example, if we take something like ABS, for example, ABS is now very well known. Everybody knows what ABS is. But if we had initially said, okay, ABS needs to be implemented on all vehicles from day one, it wouldn't have made sense. People wouldn't have understood the advantage of that, right? So I think it's very important that we start from the top, and that's what we're also trying to do. And that's why I believe more premium vehicles or more expensive vehicles coming into the market makes a larger difference. Because when adoption happens at the top, people start understanding, okay, it's not just EVs, it's not just total cost of ownership. Now we're making electric vehicles cool, right? So I think that we need to start with certain niches, and there are a lot of companies doing phenomenal work, like I said, saying that yeah, EVs can be fast, right? Right now, I think everybody knows, especially with the advent of Ola and Ather, everybody's talking about how there are these scooters that are really fast in a traffic signal, and they zoom past every time the signal goes green. So people have already started talking about it. Now we just need to kind of slowly build on it, and I think it's a it's a it's a an effort from everybody. It's not just that okay, yeah, Raptee is going to be one brand that's going to change the world, or Ola is going to be your other either, right? It's going to be. I think each company is going to play its own part, but importantly, I think everybody needs to be cognizant of what the customer kind of understands and what we're kind of telling the customer, rather than just selling millions of vehicles that don't really contribute to anything.
Right. So, as this EV industry is rapidly growing in India, so what's your company's strategy and vision towards this?
Right. So staying true to what I just said, we want to ensure that every every person who rides our motorcycle sees that EVs can be better than can be, or EVs are an upgrade to petrol powered motorcycle, right? So how we move from a horse to a steam engine to a petrol engine, this is the next thing, right? So EVs need to be seen as an upgrade in every which way, in terms of ride, in terms of handling, in terms of energy usage, in terms of how you think about fueling up your vehicle, etc., etc., etc. Right, and I think that's what we're driving. The vision here is to bring electric vehicle adoption to the masses of India, not just in very specific niches, but to the masses. But to do that, like I mentioned earlier, we want to start with specific niches, deliver quality products that that clearly add value to the customer, right? Nobody, if you ask somebody who's driving a BMW today to switch to an Alto just because it's better for the environment and gives you better total cost of ownership or better mileage, nobody's going to do that, right? So how do you kind of tell that customer, no, boss, this is going to be better in every way. It's going to be faster. It's going to be pleasurable. You're going to enjoy your ride. When you finish driving and you come back home after a day's worth of work, your bike is not going to add to the stress that you already have. And that's the vision of Raptee.
Great, great. One thing I would like to know from you, I read somewhere you also work with Tesla. So,
Right.
how your experience with Tesla?
No, I think more importantly, my experience at Tesla was, I mean, I was in the manufacturing side there. And I think that taught us a lot, right? Rather taught me a lot, right? More than just technology. Obviously, Tesla is seen as a tech company, but even in the way that they manufacture and most importantly, the culture in the company, right? I think that's what matters. It's no longer just about putting a vehicle on the road, but it's about making a product that is going to change the world for the better, right? There's not going to be one product that's going to make everybody's life better, but there's one product that drives the other products in that ecosystem to make the world a better place. And I think that's what's important, right? Fighting for a bigger cause and not just, okay, yeah, we're also yet another me too electric vehicle player, right? That's not the goal, right? We need to make a product that drives everybody in the market to make the ecosystem as a whole better, to make the world a better place. And that's I think what I learned at Tesla.
That's great. So, my today's last question is your message to youth of the India who's trying to build something in EV sector,
Okay,
especially.
I don't think I'm experienced enough to deliver a message to all of the youth in India, but I'll try to do my best. I think the potential in India is so huge, and this might sound very cliche, but it's a fact, right? Like uh, 10 years ago, when I was an undergrad, or even when I was an undergrad, the biggest disadvantage for India uh, was population, right? Our population was seen as the biggest disadvantage in India. Today, the biggest asset that we have is the population, right? We have people who are ready to spend, who have disposable income and want to live a better life. This was not the case even 5 years ago, right? India has changed so much that whatever you do, there is a customer if you do it right, right? And it's not just about the product, but it's about the experience that you deliver. Even today, when you're looking at our motorcycles, we're not talking about just the product. We're not talking about features. We're talking about what consumer experience can that product deliver. Can we deliver around the product, not just with the product, right? If I personally believe that today, any product, if delivered right, with the right customer experience, can be a hit, right? Just because of the traditional problem with other Western countries is scalability becomes an issue. Even if you have an amazing product, what happens is the market size is usually not big enough to justify a large amount of time and effort to be put here. For every niche, there's the market size is so big that you can do anything that you want. But at the core, I think, is innovation, right? Like, why does a startup need to exist? Tomorrow, let's say if there's a company which is coming with $50 million of funding, will they disrupt me? Will they be able to take me over? That's a question that we need to keep asking ourselves, right? And I think that's what is important. Rather than just doing something new, do something with a clear moat or an USP which ensures that nobody can disrupt you with just money. Obviously, with time and effort, anybody can, but money should not be the cause for disruption of your segment. So yeah, that's what I'd like to say.
सो ये थे दिनेश अर्जुन हु इज द फाउंडर ऑफ रैप्टी। ऐसे ही और वीडियोस देखने के लिए देखते रहिए टाइस टीवी, साथ ही हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें और इंटाइसिंग स्टार्टअप स्टोरीज पढ़ने के लिए विजिट करें www.tice.news। थैंक यू।